Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. The Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we discuss the film Indiana Jones in the case of the purloined femur, 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Gerald Christopher Bludgeoned Porter.
And I'm Jamie. I'm an archaeologist.
You sure are, and we're glad to have you back. Welcome back, Jamie.
Thank you.
You're here down in the stinky, gross, crumbly catacombs with us.
I love it.
Hold our hands. We're nervous.
It's like my natural habitat.
Oh,
there's
that's sad.
dead bodies and rats.
You're a field worm.
Yeah.
I love field.
Yeah.
Can I just point out too that the script several times mentions how bad it's supposed to smell down here, but you never get a really indication of that in the movie.
That's one of my questions. Was what do we think it smells like?
Okay,
Oh.
I'll save it then.
Minute 33 is a minute of questions. It begins with Indy busting down a wall in the catacombs, and it ends with rats.
Mm-hmm.
Just rats.
So what's with Elsa and the making whoopee eyes?
That's a super weird shot that I've never noticed until recently.
Look.
Yeah.
She undresses Indy, with her eyes and stares right at his misunderstanding.
I don't think that's what she's doing.
Oh, see, I thought she wanted to jump some bones.
No, I feel like her look, because he says watch out, and her look is just disbelief. Like, do I look like someone who needs to watch out for whatever you're about to do? It's just so dismissive.
I like that.
That's how I interpreted it.
You take care of it, you big brawny man.
I think
Right.
she's man-eating, home-wrecking Nancy Drew. Who's
Jerry,
in the cat?
it sounds like you have issues with women. You're trying to box them into these stereotypes.
And with teenage sleuths. What's the deal?
Yeah.
Listen, I think it's fun. We saw her.
She's
She
a
was,
doctorate. She's a little older than you think.
she lands on the bones and she gets flushed. She's into catacomb play.
Okay.
All right.
And she gives Indy this, making whoopee. Yeah, as you said, Peter, jump your bones.
Yeah. Petroleum products.
I do know of multiple children who were conceived as a result of weird fieldwork situations. So
Oh.
Oh my God!
none of my
Interesting.
own, but others.
Wow. And to think about it, they're among the saints, right? I mean, she's getting way kinky here. Way kinky. And the music here is, I would call it necroflutiac.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There's like
Either
a
way,
funny...
I still think her look is super dismissive.
Really?
Like, she's just like, don't tell me to watch out,
I think it's somewhere between dismissive and also kind of like crafty, like Indy's not looking and she's taking a glance at him with like her actual disdain. Yeah. Like her Nazi eyes.
Her Nazi eyes.
She actually, the shot is she's looking at his face and then she pans down and clearly looks below his waist.
Because Elsa is like, I'm going to use this guy.
Yeah.
She is thinking about how she's going to use him and how he's a rube who doesn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And perpetually underestimates her. He never thinks she can be bad.
All she sees right now is like a brush. An archaeological brush.
Right? She's like, this is the pickaxe.
Yeah, just one more tool for the field.
Yeah.
Yep. She definitely is thinking tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can all agree on that.
Yeah. In one form or the other.
Yeah.
So Indy sees this X on the wall, and like no part of him thinks, okay, this might be a load-bearing X. This X, this stone wall could be 2 feet thick, and it's holding up a very, very heavy and very ancient library.
Right.
I'm gonna just bash through it with my shoulder.
Right.
It's only one way to find out.
Right.
Yeah, and then I'm very depressed by his line when he lands in the stinky water, and it's a very dad sounding, like, oh, I should sink a well down here and then retire. I gotta check with Chuck Fielding down at the Venice assessor's office and see if he knows what forms to. Blah, 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 blah.
I took that to just be a joke about how archaeologists are broke all the time because no one will pay us.
That's fair.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, you are these days, but in Indy's day, apparently they did pretty well.
I feel like most of them were people who had money. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Like all of those famous old archaeologists are like Lord so-and-so.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
That's true.
I was just thinking of Indy like pocketing all the stuff from the churches and so.
That's true. He seems to do pretty well for himself, huh?
Yeah,
But what do you think retirement would look like for Indy? Would he play golf?
I don't know. You just climb out of windows all
I don't want
day.
to spoil anything for you, but we know what happens to old Indy.
I don't like this kind of talk, and you're going to get kicked off our show. I don't like this.
You know what? I don't remember at all what happens to old Indy.
Jerry,
Yes,
if
and
you
that's
ever find
fine.
out what she's talking about, your heart is going to split
You're
in
gonna
two.
love it. Yeah.
He becomes a professor emeritus. He just walks around giving lectures. Students think he's charming. It's fine.
Okay.
He's kind of a Christy Porter character.
Yeah.
I think that, like, what's fascinating, of course, about this line is, in the midst of Indy's dad's kidnapping, he's still all about the get-rich-quick scheme.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all
Yeah.
that's all he's really doing there.
Yeah.
Is this a reference to the Dianoga in the Star Wars trash compactor? All this bubbling La Brea tar pits kind of stuff going
Oh,
on.
maybe.
Ooh.
Yes, I think it is.
Hey, Elsa, something just moved past my leg.
Do you think...
I don't know what that means, but it sounds like an innuendo of some sort.
She's just like rolling her eyes.
did the knights add the petroleum later? Like, this stuff is disgusting.
I looked up why there might be petroleum, and I learned that Venice has a very real problem of having petroleum in their water and their canals because of their boats.
Ugh.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Like they have
yeah.
a genuine pollution problem.
So this is like a buildup of all these boats over the years.
Well,
Yeah.
that makes
That's
sense,
weird.
but, it's 1939. Did they have that problem then?
I assume that they did, but they weren't recording it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, you see the boats later, like there's a ton of boats
Yeah.
running around that are obviously
Yeah.
running off
Sure.
petrol, so.
And if you go to Venice today, they still have like the speedboats look exactly. They're still those same wooden speedboats and the same kind of
Yeah.
water taxi vaporettos.
cool.
Everything looks exactly like the movie. Still.
Yeah,
It's pouring gas into
Venice
the water.
is delightful.
Yeah.
I love Venice.
I've never been. Field trip.
It's my second favorite European city.
Nice.
After.
Well, actually, it's going to have to be my first since the UK Brexited. But Oxford is my number one.
Oh,
Okay.
No longer in Europe, though.
yeah.
It's one of my favorite cities of all cities.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
weird because it's no longer a functioning city for all intents and purposes. It's like a theme park. Like
Right.
they've got this crazy problem where nobody lives there who really lives there anymore. Like no one could afford to live there and be
Right.
a Venetian. It's almost all just tourists and tourist industry stuff.
Yeah.
God, that's weird.
Which is sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is sad.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
a theme park.
A very beautiful one though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spectacular. Yeah.
I actually, just this last weekend, I went to Las Vegas for the first time and saw the Venice there, which was a
Yeah.
very strange and surreal experience.
Oh, yeah.
Did you take a gondola ride?
I didn't take a gondola ride, but I did walk around their weird fake canal with like the Skechers stores and stuff lining its banks.
I have a question about petroleum. Is
Okay.
it flammable?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to get that out there.
Like
Yeah,
gasoline?
there's all these
yeah.
Yeah.
gases bubbling up,
Yeah.
and they pull out a Zippo
Yeah. They make a bigger fire with a femur and a rag soaked in gasoline,
God.
basically.
That
And they
femur.
hold that over this river of gasoline.
Way to desecrate Saint Monica.
Oh, God. Yeah.
She's been resting peacefully since the Council of Nicaea.
This is like one of the most painful parts of this movie.
Well, I had a question specifically about this. Like, how rare is it that you would find perfectly preserved fabric from like a 12th century body? Or whatever, this was probably older, 8th century body.
It totally depends on preservation conditions. If you're in a dry place, that's not that shocking.
Okay.
They're obviously not in a dry place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this could be a giant find. Like, this could be a very important find he's burning right here.
Yeah, I mean, ancient textiles are definitely, like, they're out there, but they are one of the rarer things to find. So, yeah. Not only is he desecrating this guy's grave, destroying archaeological context, and then he's taking this textile and lighting it on fire.
Yeah. Over a sea of gasoline.
It's all terrible.
Yeah, over a sea of gasoline.
Right.
Yeah, over exactly. And wouldn't the petroleum be gooping down and dripping into the oil water?
Well, I assume it's just
You
on
would
the
think.
surface of the water because it's like that oily film from boats.
Right.
Yeah, but you can't, sink a derrick down there and retire if it's
Right.
just
Right.
Yeah,
if it's just
We
the
might
boat.
say that Indy is not a geoscientist.
we might.
Yeah.
It is like Tom said, though, that's a perfect dad thing. Like, someone spills a can of oil and the dad's going to be like,
Yeah.
oh, I get a straw, I'll retire.
Yeah.
Ah. Brr. Flipping burgers.
No wonder Elsa's rolling her eyes.
Yeah, really. Oh, this guy.
And then he like destroys this body and she's like, oh God, what have I done? Take me back to the Nazi scientists.
Right. They know how to treat science.
What's interesting in every cave or Nancy Drew novel or whatever, anytime there's a cave and you need a torch, it's always a femur. There's like a handy femur around.
What bone would you suggest?
No, I don't have a problem with the femur as opposed to like like maybe if you're lighting a cigarette, you'd use like a phalange. Like maybe like the upper rib.
Sure.
Yeah.
Here you
Coccyx.
go. Here you go, gal. But it's interesting because here you have nothing but handy femurs everywhere. It's like, what a great place to light a torch.
Right.
If it wasn't a river of oil.
Right.
This is a makeshift torchmaker's dream house. This is fantastic.
Well, the fun we could have with ad hoc.
Wait till I tell the club back home.
So the script calls out that Elsa has a unique four-leaf clover design on her lighter. And I can't figure out if there's anything in the movie that has to do with that or if it's just an in-joke because Alison Dooley's Irish.
Weird.
I don't know.
Oh.
Really?
But it is in the movie. You can see it's like a clover on the lighter.
Yeah.
And that was in the script, so I'm curious why they went to that trouble.
I wonder if that was later like a clue or something that she was. I don't know. Maybe it's a seed of something that got cut later on.
Interesting.
Leaves of 3, let it be. Leaves of 4, pick some more.
Leaves of 4, there's a leprechaun about.
Leaves of 4, she probably did it with your dad.
Oh.
Leaves of 4, smash through the door.
Leaves of 4 reminds you of a swastika.
Yeah.
Somebody say it. Say it. Just somebody say it.
What?
Oh, rats.
Yeah.
Rats. Why don't I hate that? I should hate that, shouldn't I?
Oh, rats.
Oh.
It fits the progression of the movies very nicely. You've got snakes and you've got bugs and now you've got rats.
Well, and it's a true Johnny says what he sees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get another one of those.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be like I mean, okay, we saw the snakes in the Well of Souls and we had this great like moment with him and Saul. Snakes, why did it have to be snakes? And you're not going to top that, but couldn't you do something a little more like I almost see how like all rats is kind of like the non-joke, like an intentional unjoke or something.
So you want to bring back fortune cookies?
No, I do not want to bring back fortune cookies. That was horrifying. No, but something like oh, at least it's not snakes, or there's something, I don't know, just something dumb, like something I don't know, even dumber that would be even funnier. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what would it be a bit like? It feels like we're stepping on pizzas.
Really, we're tripping on burritos around here.
It feels like we're stepping on spaghetti. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
These rats are interesting though, because they bred these from birth, so they'd be disease free. Because if you have this big a concentration of rats, there's a pretty good chance that someone's going to have a disease. So they bred them
gross.
specifically for the movie, and they had over 1,000 of them.
Wow.
And then they added
Really?
later. You'll see they're a bunch of mechanical ones.
Did the rats go live on like a happy rat farm afterwards?
Yeah,
I hope so. I
they
hope
totally
so. But
did.
Okay.
when they get torched in a couple of minutes,
Right.
that Spielberg said he specifically only used mechanical rats because he said, he made snakes slither around Marion, and he made bugs crawl in Willie's hair, but he's not a monster. He's not going to kill rats. So he's like, I have my limits.
That's
Rats
good, yeah.
are cool animals.
Yeah. Oh, they're smart. They're fun. Yeah. And Ben Burt had some cool ways to get the sound that they're making here. Is he actually added chicken sounds to so they had sort of a higher
That's
register.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what are the rats living on? Like corpses? St. Monica?
Well, they're just like sewer rats.
Oh, you think so? But why did they congregate down there? You think it's like real catacombs too? Like they're all meeting down there. Maybe it's on Sunday afternoons.
Maybe. Well, it's a rat king. Are you familiar with the concept of the rat king?
No.
Continue.
It's like this idea that it's a collection of rats whose tails become intertwined, sort of like so that they're completely stuck together. And basically they live in sewers, but they're seen really rarely. And so they're sort of like a Bigfoot kind of thing also. And then they're also in like folklore a lot.
So they like a
Weird.
circle?
So it's literally just like a ball of writhing rats.
No.
Oh.
God, how would they
what?
accomplish anything?
Well,
And
they're
why?
not happy
Yeah,
rats.
it's just do they?
I don't think that they
Oh my
enjoy
God,
it.
why are they? I said go left.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently, looking this up, in June 2013, there was a squirrel king of 6 living
Oh, God.
squirrels stuck together with pine sap in Saskatchewan, who had to be separated by
Oh my
veterinarians.
God. Oh.
A squirrel king.
Glad it had a happy ending.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Now, do you guys think the rats, like there's a connection with the Ark of the Covenant on the wall and these rats?
Oh.
Yeah, do you think like
That's funny.
whenever they pass through that hallway, they do that weird neck
Yeah.
thing and ground against the ground?
They don't know why, they just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The shot of the rats and the skulls made me think of the Rescuers.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But then I was wondering, would Bob Newhart have been a good Indiana Jones?
Yes. Yes.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think he would have been a good Dr. Henry Jones.
Oh, he would have been
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. He's like talking to Marcus on the phone.
Right.
So you don't have the headpiece. Okay. I try the thing, I don't have any good Bob Newhart material.
Okay. The rats and the skulls just made me think of Plague, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sure.
We're underneath an old European city,
Yeah.
Well, didn't the quarantine come from Venice? Like that was the Italian word for 40.
I believe it was Florence.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
That's right. Your ship had to stay out of the harbor.
Right.
Or, well, your
For
ship had
40
to stay
days.
in the harbor, but you
Yeah, for
couldn't
40
deplane.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't disembark.
Pretty sure that was Florence. Now I'm going to look this up.
Florence Henderson.
No, apparently it is Venetian. You're right.
Hey, look at
Hey.
that.
There you
Score
go.
one for Pete.
Well, the word quarantine originates from the Venetian dialect form of the Italian quaranta giorni, meaning 40 days. But this is due to the 40-day isolation of ships and people before entering the city-state of Ragusa, which is modern Dubrovnik, Croatia, who were coming from Venice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there
Is
we
there
go.
do you guys Jamie, and Pete and Tommy, I mean, when we talk about the Crusades, do you get this feeling that the Crusades are just a lot like Lollapalooza It's like the first crusade. Everybody's really like Pope Urban, and we're gonna get back, and we're gonna take that Holy Land back. And everybody gets geared up for the first one. And the second one, they're like, yeah, well, we did, well, we're gonna get back over there again on the second one. And then as you kind of study the Crusades, you're like, there's a seventh crusade. There's like an eighth crusade.
There's even a specific Venetian crusade.
It's like they get watered down. It's like by the ninth, the 10th crusade, you're like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
And they also start, like Venice goes to Constantinople, and then like the fifth crusade, they go to Egypt, and they start kind of losing their train of thought.
Yeah, they really lose the plot.
Yeah.
And there's like a children's crusade where it's like just children and. Yeah.
Oh, we love the children's crusade on this show.
Right.
We always talk about it. We sing a song, and they all got sold into slavery on the grand old children's crusade.
I love that
It
show.
always makes me think of Slaughterhouse 5.
Oh, me too. Thanks for saying that. Yeah. That was the alternate title for that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really... There's this quote that says, like, the past is a foreign country. They do things different there.
Mm-hmm.
And the Crusade is one of those events, or the Crusades are one of those events that really drives that home for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a weird idea, you know? And people were just gripped by this fever to do it.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And so many people picked up everything they owned, sold everything they owned, and went on this journey where they never knew if they'd come home. And
I mean, what does that say about like their opportunities at home? You know?
Yeah.
They obviously were not having a great time at home. They were like, I'll take my chances, like walking to the Middle East, a place I have never been.
Right.
One of my favorite books is the World Lit Only by Fire by William Manchester, and like the first 40.
That book.
I love that book. Pete, you've read
I have
that, right?
complicated feelings about that book.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Fight.
Well, I think in the introduction, he talks about just basically life in the Middle Ages, and you're like, most people didn't travel beyond 10 miles of their house, like where they were born.
Right.
Basically, they just and like the sun went down, they're like, yep, stay out of the forest. Don't go in there. We don't even know what ever happens there. But bad things did happen. That's where you get robbed, and nobody would hear you, and
Yeah. But I mean, then there's like really strong evidence that people did travel much further than 10 miles from their house all the time.
Sure,
like,
Crusades.
for example, there's like, there's the Crusade, but there's also like graveyards in England where they've done stable isotope studies to see, we're like way beyond Indiana Jones here, sorry. But you can look at like the chemicals in people's teeth and see where their teeth were formed, so where they lived in childhood based on the chemistry of the water that they were drinking.
Wow.
And there's a lot of evidence that people in the Middle Ages had a ton of mobility. And so there's these graveyards in England where there's people from all over Europe and even down into North Africa who were then, like, their teeth show that they grew up far away and they were buried in England.
Wow.
So the problem with The World Lit Only by Fire, which is a very engaging book that I enjoy very much, is that it makes the Middle Ages sound a lot worse than they really were.
No, I liked it when the Middle Ages were bad.
Sorry.
I remember like the one quote he says about like Ferdinand Magellan. He's like, he kept the best part of himself to himself. Like, meaning, like, he didn't share anything with anybody because he thought he was dope.
He had some goofball stuff in there, though. Like, he talked about, like, people didn't wear clothes when they lived in the woods. Or like...
Right. There's a lot of inaccuracies in the book. And the book's, like, driving theme is, like, oh, the Middle Ages were a time of, like, darkness, and it was terrible. And that's just not... It's not true in our current understanding, so...
Yes.
Did everybody smell bad, though?
Yes.
No, like people use perfume, for example. Like perfume was definitely a thing, and
they used ground up femurs.
The people didn't bathe thing seems to be totally inaccurate.
Oh wow,
really?
Like, Yeah, so
Huh.
there's a lot of misconceptions about the Middle Ages, and I am here to try to dispel them.
Really?
Awesome.
All right.
A lot of people think that like Europe in the Middle Ages was an entirely like white continent, like they weren't mixing with people of other races, but that's not true. And you can like see artwork that shows that that's not true. Like there's a lot of black people in artwork from the European Middle Ages, that kind of thing. So, just trying to break down the stereotypes.
Yeah.
You're fighting the good fight.
Thanks.
Shedding light on the former Dark Ages.
Yes.
Yeah.
With a flaming torch over a sea of gasoline.
Yeah. If people want to read a very interesting book that is a little more accurate about the Middle Ages, not that The World Lit Only by Fire is not incredibly entertaining. The guy is a great writer. But another book that won the Pulitzer Prize is called A Distant Mirror by Barbara Tuchman. And it compares the 14th century, which is when the Black Death happened, to the 20th century. And it's just it's a really thoughtful book.
Cool.
That's one of my mom's
Yeah.
favorite books.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's a history professor, so there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Speaking of professors,
What do you mean?
Ooh.
What about professors? Oh!
this just in from Professor Christy Porter. Did those pesky pagans purposely flood the place with petroleum?
I think you're supposed to read that as Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say.
Yeah, disintegrated.
Yeah. Pesky pagans flood the place with petroleum.
There you go. That's beautiful.
Nice. Yeah.
It's like Daffy Duck is here on the show with us.
And Tom, you had a nice shout out to our Patreon show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did that on. We got some Daffy
Close
Duck and
Encounters.
Close Encounters. That's
Yeah.
right. Hey, speaking of, if you're tired of not hearing the show over the weekend and everything, you should come to the Patreon show. You should come over to patreon.com/Indiana Jones and support the show over there. And if you do, you can get access to our bonus show, Anything Goes, where we talk about things like Close Encounters. We've talked about Jaws. We've talked about E.T. and comic books. And we've had a great time. And you should come have a great time with us and help support the show as you do it. And after you do that, you should listen to me thank Jamie for joining us on the show for the past few days.
No
It's been
problem.
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
the
having
showers
me.
are to the left. Get all the petroleum off you. It's a little stinky down here. We apologize.
I'm going to start a business down here. Put in a well.
Let's go sink a well. Talk to
Yeah.
Joe Fielding in the office. Yeah.
Don't never mind the Squirrel King.
Right.
Oh, he won't bother you.
Right. He'll be fine. He's a mascot. But everybody else, please join us back here tomorrow for minute 34 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Everybody who's into Catacomb play.
The Children's Crusade.
Children's Crusade.